it comes. Oh my goodness. In your life have you seen anything like that? There it is. A win for the ages. Is it his time?
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Putting It Straight podcast, the podcast where we talk about everything golf. I'm your host, Matthew Fieldsend, and as always, I've got Tom Palmer and Simon Dainsett alongside me. How are we doing, lads?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all, mate.
First day back with back at the golf club. We had a good day.
Busy day, but good. Yeah, very busy.
Nice to be back, eh?
Yeah, really, really nice to be back, mate. Really nice. You've been busy, haven't you, Tom?
Yeah, busy day today. Obviously, everyone back playing golf. It was good fun. No, it was quite, obviously, course was looking good. And obviously, I think everyone's just excited to get back and get out onto the golf course. I've seen some right bad tee shots, though. Some dicey shots. But it was good to watch from out of the pro shot window. I give them that.
Yeah, it was very entertaining today.
Yeah, because your place is similar to ours, Tom, where you've got a view of the first tee out the shop window, haven't you?
Priceless, mate. Yeah,
Which is
Priceless.
it's an endless supply of brilliant viewing. I mean, we saw a couple of corkers today, didn't we?
We did.
I mean,
We did. It's unfortunate that we're posting this on the members group.
Well, I'm not in that group, so I can actually say some of our members, we've got some conifers on the left-hand side, and literally, as you tee off, obviously you just hit straight ahead. These conifers are literally being like ploughed into by golf balls. There's an 18th green on the right-hand side. I've seen people on the 18th green. Like it was just shocking.
Oh, wow.
But it was funny. Like it was good to watch.
Yeah, we saw a large variety of shots today. I think we saw every part of the club head hit today off the first tee.
Definitely. Yeah. No, it was great to see everybody back there, and we actually had some nice weather as well. Which was nicely timed for the first day back.
Even nice tomorrow.
I know.
I'm going to say it. Shorts might come out tomorrow.
Get your pins out.
Get the out of bounds posts out.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, yeah.
Right. They've not seen sunlight for a very long time.
I know, yeah. Years, it feels like years.
Almost as bad as that headband last week, weren't it?
No, not quite as bad as that.
Can you imagine that as a duo?
Where's it gone?
The out of bounds markers out.
Yeah, I reckon both of them.
I've gone for a switch. I received some serious grief for that last week. I don't regret it. I don't regret it, but we've gone for a switch.
You're joking? Me and Tom both agreed that it was a really good look for you, mate.
I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, we said you should do it again for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's a really good attempt at trying to keep a straight face, but I'm not buying it.
I can't do it. Yeah, I can't do it.
That's all. You can't do it.
Don't worry.
But look, we've got a really good podcast lined up this week. We're going to talk about the match play, which was a really interesting tournament. We've got a great question, another swing review, and a really interesting main topic this week. We're talking about clutch golf shots, so can't wait to get into that one. So we start off with the review of the match play, as we said, really interesting week. A week in which we saw a lot of upsets, I think you'd have to say. I saw a stat where I think only one of the top 16 seeds actually made it out of their bracket. So just because you were one of the best seeds, did not mean that you were going to get out. I think John Rahm was the only one to do it. And obviously we ended up with Billy Horschel coming out on top, beating Scotty Scheffler in the final. And I think Matt Kuchar beat Victor Perez in the third and fourth place match. But some great moments in the week as well. 2 hole-in-ones, Garcia and Westwood. What do we make of those?
Garcia's one, you've got to feel sorry for Westwood because he was playing so well he was playing unbelievably well, and like Sergio had to hold a couple of putts just to stay in the match, and then he just goes and dunks it. You could almost see how frustrated Westwood was. There was a little bit of a heartbreak moment.
I feel sorry for Westwood. Like, he
yeah,
never quite gets it, does he?
He's always the bridesmaid, isn't he? He's never the bride.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. It's a brutal way to get knocked out of a tournament, and you could see it was like, because obviously they get on and they're good friends, but he was kind of shaking hands and saying well done through very gritted teeth.
Yeah, really,
very
really
gritted teeth.
Yeah, he probably knew that it's going to be played thousands of times on
sure.
YouTube as well, so people are going to watch it over and over again for years.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of like your video and last week with your headband
Tommy Fleetwood. Seeing me. But Tommy Fleetwood had the other hole in one, which was the day after Garcia's. I think it was it on the same hole? It
was the same hole.
I think it was on the 4th.
Yeah.
And that one, I think that one was against Dylan Fratelli. So yeah, it was exciting from that point of view, and there was some great golf played. I think Brian Harmon in his match against Bubba Watson, he went from, I think he was 2 or 3 down early and made something like 7 or 8 birdies in a row to get 3 or 4 up. It was incredible.
That's some stretch of golf, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So no, really good event. On the prediction side though, I don't think anybody did very well, did we, Simon?
We didn't have the strongest week in the world, did we, lads?
I don't think any of our watchers did they? I think everyone had a bit of a torrid time.
I tell you what, I'll go look at the results a little bit, because we had 3 people that actually scored any points.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was it. Out of everyone, we had 3 people, and we had 1 -5 in there.
Who was the -5er?
It was Charlie Camper, actually. So, and he's actually our swing review today. So not only is he going to get ripped to bits for that, he's also going to get his swing ripped to bits as well. Yeah, so
good week for Charlie.
Yeah, we had 3 people score. So Andrew Cameron had Sergio, brilliant pick on the outside, I think. Really, really good pick. Tim Hudson had John Rahm, and then Ryan Brooks had John Rahm. A little bit of a comment for Ryan Brooks as well, because before this week he was sat on -16. I'm pretty sure he got -5 almost every single week. So he's our top scorer this week. So I've got to say a massive well done to him. He was due a good one. But that's actually changed things around on our leaderboard. So Andrew Cameron has now jumped into the lead with 23 points. Julie Deacon sitting in second with 21. And then we've got tied for third, Tim Hodson on 19, Dale Housden on 19, and Victoria Mallet on 19. So a little bit of a change around at the top.
I'll tell you what, Victoria's plummeting.
I know.
Victoria plummeting.
She's had a couple of slow weeks. A couple of really slow weeks. I'm sure she'll appreciate it.
So let's go a little bit lower down. Who's at the bottom of the leaderboard?
So it's still Ryan Brooks. So he's still dead last at the bottom. Yeah, -12.
As long as I'm not rock bottom.
No, and we're still the same as last week where we stood. So it's still Matt in the lead. I've managed to leapfrog over you, Tom, and I'm in second, and you're in third. So not really much happened this week. There was a lot of 0 points and not many points scored, not many points lost, to be honest. But that's match play, isn't it? Like you said, only one of the top 16 seeds managed to get through. Lots of shocks, lots of upsets, and that's why I think people watch match play, because you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think if you'd have told me that come the end of the week, you'd have Victor Perez, Matt Kuchar, Scotty Scheffler, and Billy Horschel as your last 4, I'd have laughed at you. No chance. No chance at all. But again, that is the beauty of match play. Anybody can beat anybody, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah. So no, it was a good tournament. It always makes a good viewing. So if we move on to our main topic. So like I said, we're going to talk a bit about clutch golf shots, and we're going to discuss what we think is the most clutch shot that we've seen. But I think it would be great if we started off by each just kind of talking about what does clutch actually mean. So if I come to you first, Simon, when we're talking about clutch moments or clutch shots, what are we actually talking about?
So when you say clutch, I think that it's in a moment where there's extreme pressure and there's a lot on the line. I don't think it necessarily has to be the toughest shot in the world. Obviously, if it's more difficult, then it means it's more high tariff and the chances of you pulling it off are less. And in high pressure situations, it's even more difficult to do that. So more difficulty does technically mean it's probably more clutch, if you want to say that, but it doesn't have to be. There's pressurized situations where you can just make, I don't know, a 4 or 5 footer that's downhill left to right, and that'd be clutch still. So I think it's just in situations where there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot on the line and it means something.
Yeah. Would you agree with that, Tom?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, something clutch just has to mean something so important. Do you know what I mean? It could be a make or break putt, and if you hole it, it could swing the tide. Do you know what I mean? It could be something that really changes the situation quite dramatically, just through something that you've done. I think that's quite a clutch moment in the game. It could be holing out, a hole in one that could change the dynamics of what's going on in a match play situation, or anything. Do you know what I mean? It could be some one shot that really changes the swing of things.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point. I think, and they were the two things that I was going to pick up on. I think pressure is a big one, and like you said, Simon, it doesn't always have to be the most difficult shot. Sometimes just the pressure of that moment can make a relatively simple shot that much harder. But as you said as well, Tom, timing. So the time that shot happens. So if it's, back 9 on a Sunday and you're one off the lead or tied for the lead and you need to make something happen and you hit that perfect shot at the right time, that's what we're really talking about when we're saying a clutch moment or a clutch golf shot. So really, really interesting topic. So obviously there's been lots of brilliant clutch moments throughout the years. You could pick from so many different examples, but for both of you, if you got a clutch shot or a clutch moment that really stands out to you, I'll come to you first, Tom.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I really like the Tiger Woods moment on, I think it's the 16th at the Masters. Obviously, that chip in, I thought that was just so important for him in terms of obviously winning the Masters and doing so well. Do you know what I mean? If he hadn't have done that shot, it could have been a completely different situation for him. He might not have won that tournament. And obviously, the shot itself could have easily resulted in anything else. He could have ended up chipping it way too long and then having to 2-putt back up the hill. Do you know what I mean? There could be like a 2-shot swing, 3-shot swing in just that chip alone. And obviously when it dropped in, the amount of pressure that was on him at that moment in time, I think that just meant so much. And obviously you could see from his reaction and everyone around him going crazy, that's just like sort of motivated him then on to carry on and perform really well for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, I think that shot was, I mean, from a difficulty point of view, as we were saying, it doesn't always have to be a hard shot, but that was a pretty tough one, right up against the collar with the huge slope and the moment itself. I mean, I think he was tied with Chris DeMarco at the time, at that point. So, 2 holes left to play in the Masters. It's a huge moment.
Yeah.
And to pull that shot off, I mean, it's staring bogey in the face from where he'd hit it from the tee.
Yeah. So
to pull that shot off at that time, I mean, you could almost see the energy just drop out of Chris DeMarco when it went in. It's just like, I mean, to watch that when you're trying to beat this guy must be so
just like, what can you do? What can you possibly do?
You can't do anything, can you? You can't do
just
anything.
Sit back and just admire, don't you? So yeah, I think that is a really textbook example. So no, brilliant. What about you, Simon?
So mine's not so much a shot, but a stretch of golf for me. And the one that I've picked is Ian Poulter at the 2012 Ryder Cup in Medina. Him and Rory playing their doubles match, and he goes on to make 5 birdies on the last 5 holes to win his match 1-up. And it was just like, I get goosebumps thinking about it now, because I remember watching it at the time and thinking, this is unbelievable. Like, so obviously he's got such a good reputation anyway in match play. Like, people call him Postman Pulse because he always delivers. And it's just for him to carry on adding to that sort of almost legacy, I suppose, at this point, under that much pressure was just incredible. So I mean, he started off on 14 par 5. He's made a birdie there. I think at this point they're 1 down, maybe something like that.
There might have even been 2 down at that point, potentially.
So,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, him and Rory are playing Jason Duffner and Zach Johnson. So, yeah, 1 or 2 down anyway, and they're up against it because they're both playing well, the Americans are. So he birdies 14. Then it comes to 15, drivable par 4, knocks it in the greenside bunker, got a bunker shot, what were we reckoning, 30 yards, probably 40 yards, really in between distance towards water, knocks it in there stone dead, makes another birdie. Then got 16, hits it on the green. He's made this 30-foot slippery downhill left to right putt and just giving it the big end to the camera, like his eyes are popping out of his head and like it's starting to feel like really exciting, like he could do this, they could actually do this. Then it gets to 17, tough par 3, over the water, pin tuck front left, knocks it on there to probably 10 foot away from the flag. And then Zach Johnson replies straight away, knocks it inside him to about 4 or 5 foot. And he still has the bottle to hold that one, another downhill slippery one. And Zach Johnson rolls it in. So I think they're 1 up at this point, him and Rory are. And you're just thinking they've got to do it because what were we? 10-5 down at this point, weren't we? And the difference between 10.5, 5.5 and 10-6 is huge. I think 10-6 is the biggest deficit that's ever been made up in Ryder Cup. I think that's right. So it's a massive sort of psychological advantage if you can get to 10-6. And anyway, they go down the last and he knocks it on the green to probably sort of 12 or 13 foot. And Duffner knocks it to, I think, 4 foot again for birdie and rolls it in. And then it's Ian Porter's turn and everyone is there watching because they're the last group out. All of the teams are watching. All of the spectators are watching. It's deathly silent and it's all down to that one slippery 13, 14 foot putt that he's got down the hill. And he just rolls it dead in the middle and turns around and gives it to the big into everyone. And that is the best stretch of golf under that amount of pressure that I've ever seen in my life. Incredible.
That's almost like multiple clutch shots, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not just one clutch shot, you could say. You could say that's like so many, like that downhill slider putt, that could be a clutch shot. The whole thing was like how clutch the whole thing was.
Yeah, 5 birdies on the last 5 holes, and the way that he made them, mate, was just the definition of clutch. If you want to say that, it was.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's really interesting listening to Poulter talk about that moment as well, because I think he talks a lot about he kind of felt from the golf course when they were out there that point was going to be huge because, as you said, 10-6 was the biggest deficit that had ever been overturned. So the difference between being able to do that and being at 10, 10.5, 5.5, because at that point, you've then got to do something that's never been done.
Yeah.
So the psyche of that is if we can get to 10-6, we know it's doable. Yeah. And he just talked about, he just wanted to give the whole team energy of, we can still do this. And obviously 14 through to 17 built that up, and then it all kind of came to a head in that putt at 18. And he said when he kind of turned around, he was just trying to give all of his energy over to the team. And you could see them, they'd been flat for the first 2 days. And then all of a sudden it was like, do you know what? We can still do this. Completely different team. And they came out the next day, all guns blazing. I think they won the first 5 matches on the board.
Yeah.
Donald went out first, McIlroy, Rose, Paul Lawrie, and Poulter, I think, were the top 5. Is that about right?
Yeah.
And just won the first 5 matches, and we know what happens from there on. So I think that, like you say, it's a clutch stretch, unbelievable. And I think for me as well, I had a long think about this, and there's lots of moments that come to mind. Spieth was one that came to mind at the 2017 Open. After that awful tee shot on 14 and hitting off the range and all that kind of stuff, to then go ahead and make the birdie at the next hole, hit a laser 6-iron in the par 3 to 3 feet, so clutch, and obviously went on to win the tournament. But I think for me, I've gone for a moment that I was actually there for, which was 2010 Ryder Cup, Celtic Manor, 16th green, Graham McDowell in the singles against Hunter Mahan when he makes that birdie putt to go to the 17th, one up.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really begin to explain what that moment was like to be there.
Yeah, what was it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to say. And I bet it was great. Like, it was just crazy, weren't it?
It's a different atmosphere, isn't it, as well? It's just a different atmosphere.
I mean, I've got goosebumps talking about that. It's the whole Ryder Cup feeling being there is just unlike any other event I've ever been to. And obviously that Ryder Cup was so unique because of like the weather, and there was all the delays, and obviously they came back to finish on Monday. So we'd gone for the Sunday and they hadn't got much playing. So we'd gone again for the Monday to see it all finish. And I mean, walking around the golf course was quite difficult because it was just so muddy everywhere. You got people sliding down banks and all sorts. But obviously it was getting towards the end of that day and the Americans had been making a charge. So the atmosphere was quite tense. I think Ricky Fowler, a couple of groups ahead, had birdied the last 4 against Eduardo Molinari to get a half point. And it just felt like everything was slipping away. I remember being up on the left of the 16th. There's a big bank up left of the green. So there's thousands of people stood up on this bank. And you could feel the whole energy was just like, if we can just make this putt, if you can make this putt, it can change everything. And when it went in, I mean, it felt like it took forever to get down that hill, and then it fell in the side door. I've never heard
everyone just going crazy.
It was nuts. You'd got just strangers hugging each other. It just going absolutely mental. But for McDowell to be able to pull that off in that moment, because, you know, he stood on that green and he knows that basically the Ryder Cup is resting on his shoulders. That is it, on him. So to pull that off at that point was just incredible. But I think it fell to the right person that week, because obviously that was the year when he was kind of on top of the golfing world. He won the US Open at Pebble Beach. I think he'd won somewhere else as well. He was just on fire that year. So if you wanted it to come down to someone that year, Graham McDowell was your man. He was one of the best putters on the planet. And obviously went and then won it on the 17th with Hunter Mahan, with, again, which the other side of it, a not so clutch moment, duffing that chip. And if we're being honest, Hunter Mahan's never been the same again.
The opposite of clutch.
He has never recovered from that moment.
No.
Which is frightening when you think about it. I mean, we're 11 years on and you can't really recall what he's done in the last 11 years since that moment.
God.
Yeah.
I know it's crazy, but that's the
make or break.
It's the magnitude of the moment, and that's the difference. So no, I think it's crazy.
Would you have duffed it, lads? Be honest.
Nah, straight on the good.
I mean, normally I'd back myself with my short game, but I think in that moment, I don't think you know how you're going to react under that amount of pressure.
I'd have been taking my putter, mate. There is no chance I'm having anything with a leading edge going into that.
Simon's getting his putter out all day long.
100%.
Tom, have we had we've had another question this week, haven't we? I think we've got a good one this week.
Sure. Yeah, let me have a look. We have got a question from the listener. Scott Cronin. Is it Cronin?
Yeah, Cronin.
Scott Cronin says, I'm going through somewhat of a mechanics journey at the moment. My thought process being, if my mechanics are my solid foundation, I can swing at it harder but retain consistency. I get there in the end. I'll spit it out in the end. So obviously, the better he swing technically is mechanically, the harder he can hit it. What are your thoughts? Obviously, we'll go to you, Matt.
It's an interesting question, really, because, like you say, you would think that if your foundations are good and you have a really good understanding of your swing and you've got good control of the club face and all those kind of things that go with it, then you would think that, yes, you could hit it harder and still be able to retain all those foundations and therefore the consistency that goes with it. I think the only other element that really comes into it is, I think we'd all agree, players tend to have what you probably call like a natural tempo that they like to swing the club at, somewhere where they feel comfortable at that speed and at that tempo. And I think the danger sometimes, and we've seen it with, really surprisingly, with Rory going down the speed route that Bryson went down when he was already one of the longest hitters on tour. And he admitted it himself that it's kind of messed his swing up, trying to hit it harder and search for that speed.
That was at Bay Hill, wasn't it, when he said that?
Yeah.
He really struggled, yeah.
And he said it's going to take him some time to find his way back. And I think that's always the consideration for people that are thinking of going down that route, is just because you've got a really solid foundation and you understand your mechanics down to a T, and you can have all the data in the world and have the best understanding, sometimes that doesn't always translate when you try and add more speed, because the sequential timing of everything changes.
Sequential timing?
Throwing them out there tonight.
Big words.
The viewers are in for a treat tonight.
And he's got his thesaurus out next to him, isn't he?
Pulling out the big guns. So yeah, I think that's the balancing act. And I think that players can find a happy medium between the two, where they can add a bit of speed and retain the foundations that they've built. But what I would probably say as well is you probably can't do that quickly. And I'd probably suggest for people that are trying to do that, to not do them separately. So don't try and build the foundations and then add speed. I think I'd try and do the two together, because you almost need the foundations to be adapting to the speed as you go along. Otherwise, you can build a great swing, really good foundations, and then increase by 4 or 5 miles an hour, tempo changes, and all of a sudden your release patterns and your timing is completely different.
Yeah.
So that's the balancing act.
I'm not sure. Very good point. I completely agree with that. I think that's a great point. And like you say, case in point is Rory, one of the best ball strikers in the world, isn't it? And if he can go along and struggle to hit the ball out the middle after trying to gain some more speed, then it just shows, doesn't it? It's not as easy as it sounds.
It does. And to be fair, this isn't to say that that's the same for every golfer. There will be some golfers, like Bryson, to be fair, although you could argue he's changed his mechanics as well, whilst increasing speed.
Yeah,
but there will be golfers that can build a solid foundation and add some speed without it hurting the consistency too much. But I think it's just a very fine line.
I think as well, the better your mechanics are, the more the speed will naturally get quicker anyway. So if you're swinging it technically better, that your club head speed will probably be quicker in the first place, or do you know what I mean? You'll probably be able to develop more club head speed because your swing is technically getting better. So at the same time, it's going to free you up to actually hit bigger distances. You're not going to think, oh, actually, I'm going to have better mechanics and then I can start swinging it harder. It's more of a case, the better the mechanics, probably the quicker you'll be able to swing and the longer distances you'll hit.
Yeah, that and the old sequential timing as well, mate.
Sequential timing, I mean, that is just so important.
Yeah.
That is the key.
Well, you carried that question a bit, Matt, but I feel like there's nothing else to say about that.
Yeah, completely did.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Well done.
But to be fair, I love that question. When Scott sent that over to me, I thought that is such a brilliant question because there's so many elements to it. So yeah, thank you for that one, Scott. That was really, really good. Simon, we're going to come to you now because I believe you've got a swing to look at.
I certainly have, and I've got it in front of me. And the first thing that I need to say is that this lad can play. He can seriously play. You can see that he can strike the ball, which you both agree. Yeah, very, very good player. So it might seem a little nitpicky, the stuff that I'm going to pick out, but I'm just saying potentially there's some areas where he can improve and make it more consistent. He knows how to find the middle of the club face. I think consistency is going to be the issue here. So anyway, right, if we get into it, I've drawn a couple of lines here, just a line down from his armpits, just to show where his balance points are. So you can see there that it's slightly over his toes, and you're going to see a couple of things that happen throughout his swing because he's a little bit off balance. So his balance is too far towards his toes, basically, too far towards the ball. So he takes the club back, as you can see, he rolls it a little bit inside, and he's got quite a lot of hip turn early. And then you see as he goes up, he puts the brakes on. There's not much rotation then in the hips. So they rotate early, probably 20 or 30 degrees, and then not too much after that. And then as a byproduct, the arms lift up in the air. His right elbow gets a little bit pinched in front of him. And then because of that, his hands don't get too much depth. So they're quite far in front of him. And then this is where the bad posture and that start to come in and cause a few little issues. We want to get those hands a little bit further behind him, a little bit deeper, give him a little bit more time on the downswing. But now because of those couple of balance bits and because his arms are a little bit pinched in front of him, and he hasn't got much hip turn, you'll notice now that what happens is that he goes towards the target and he pulls those arms down, and he has to have some secondary tilt where his body's tilting away from the target to try and get that club back on the inside and drop it on the inside, and he gets quite lateral. And so from there, it's a lot of timing. There's going to be a lot of release issues. I expect that he hits quite a few blocks, quite a few hooks, just because it's a lot of timing with the hands. I mean, he gets into a great, technically great positions on the way through, and the follow through is fantastic. And that's how you can see that he's a player. But a couple of bits there for him. So if you can try and feel like he keeps those hips rotating on the way back, let that right knee straighten a little bit for him, get a little bit more depth with the hands, and then try and get a little bit more rotational instead of lateral on the way down. I think that could add some consistency. But all in all, very, very good swing. He can hit a ball properly, this lad can. Good player.
I like that. And I think it's always interesting looking at better player swings, because I think there's a danger with changing too much with good players, because they're a good player for a reason.
Yes.
And obviously they found a way to make good contacts and hit the shots that they need to from sometimes positions that may not look textbook.
You know all about that, wouldn't you, Matt?
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, I don't mind that though, because
I'm being serious.
Yeah, my swing is by all means
hokey at the top, but he gets it back down on plane.
And I think that the key word for all of this is competence. If a player can prove to me, if I'm a good players coach and they can prove to me that they're competent at performing that move and they can hit the shot that they want to hit on a consistent basis, I'm happy for them to continue to do it. The difference comes where if it's stopping them hitting the shots that they want to hit and they can't do it consistently, so therefore they're not competent. So then there's a decision to make with what route you go down to make that move more efficient. So it's not like working with relatively new golfers where it's almost a blank canvas and you can kind of shape them to how you feel
your model or what you think is model.
Exactly. When you've got good players, it's like, well, they are a good player for a reason. And even though it might not look how I'd want it to look, they've obviously got some level of competence with it. So you can't just take it all to pieces and start again.
You wouldn't change Jim Fury's backswing, would you? Do you know
exactly. Or JT's not textbook. I mean, he gets up to the top, his arms really raised, he doesn't get too much depth, and he has a massive all-in move, so like a casty move from the top, and you wouldn't teach that to anyone, but he's one of the best players on the planet.
Yeah, and gets off his right side. I mean, his feet are all over the place through impact. You wouldn't teach that, but he does it consistently, and he's got control of it, so you wouldn't change it. So that's the really interesting thing about working with good players.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Love it. Right, we are 1 week out from the Masters.
1 week away.
So that tournament between now and the Masters is the Valero Texas Open. So obviously last chance for players to play their way into Augusta. You've got some of the big names choose to take the week off, go and do some practice, get some rest, get some prep in, and then you get some players that want to try and play their way into form. So DJ's back in the field this week. Jordan Spieth's playing. Tony Finau, a few of the other big names. So it should be an interesting week.
Definitely.
So,
right there,
Simon,
okay.
I know, yeah,
should be an interesting.
Dear me. So, if we, Simon, we'll come to you first. Who have you gone for this week? Whilst I get a drink.
My pick this week is Abraham Answer. So, he's shown some really, really good form coming into this week. Cheers, mate. Everyone knows how good his short game is. He's accurate as well off the tee, and I think that's going to be a really, really key thing at the Valero Open, because it's narrow fairways. It's really tight tree line fairways. Not too much water in play. I mean, a couple of holes, par 3 over water, and there's some water in play on some other holes, but it's tight fairways. And I think if you can find the fairways and give you a chance to be hitting these greens and giving yourself opportunities, then it's going to do you good. And with his short game, he can get himself out of trouble if he needs to. So I think he's a good pick. Yeah,
I like that. And yeah, I mean, you touched on it there. His short game is
fire,
filthy good.
Yeah,
filthy good. So seriously. No, he's anyone with a short game like that. If they hit it decent, they're going to stand a good chance.
Do well.
Yeah, like that. What about you, Tom?
Well, talking of short games, it's got to be the man himself, Jordan Spieth. Obviously, king of putting. All right,
after you cheated on him last week.
This is why I'm going for him, because I feel
he doesn't want you. He doesn't want your pick.
No, I want Jordan back now. So obviously, I'm never picking Bryson or DJ ever again. So honestly, I will never.
It's like a breakup. Please come back to me.
They were shocking. Every time I pick them, they do crap. So I'm not picking them again. I'm going Jordan Spieth. Gonna hold some putts this week. Gonna get himself in some good form, ready for the Masters. Obviously, I put a little bit of a bet on him for the Masters as well. I think he could do pretty well, obviously, but obviously it's a big pick next week for the Masters, so it's one of them ones. I'm going for Spieth this week, and then I've got a little bit of a cheeky one for the Masters.
Oh, he's thinking in advance.
Yeah, I want to make sure I've got some.
Alex Noren in it. All day, every day, Alex Noren.
It's not Noren. No, he's a bit better.
I don't know if he's in the field, is he?
I don't even know if he's got in.
No, I don't think he has.
No, I'm not sure he is. Well, I've gone for a slightly different one. I've gone for Eric Van Rooyen this week.
No.
South Africa. Tom's never heard of him.
No good.
No good.
No good because Tom's
not heard of him.
Shortest trousers on tour.
Bet365. Let's have a look at his odds.
Well, whilst you do that, I'll kind of run you through why I've gone for him. He's very solid all-round game. Really good ball striker. Had a decent week at the match play. He won his bracket.
Showed some guts as well.
Yeah, showed some real guts down the stretch. Obviously got knocked out in the end, but there's signs that his game's there. He's had a couple of decent finishes recently. So yeah, I think he's a bit of an outsider. Obviously, he's not won in America yet, so it would be a bit of a turnout. But
what's his name?
Yeah, Eric Van Rooyen.
Oh yeah, no good.
Now we know how Tom gets all his picks.
No good. He's doing nothing. What do you reckon his odds are
for this week?
Yeah,
60s.
No, 125 to 1.
No, it's not about 80 to 1. I mean,
that's worth a fiver though. Like that's a really decent.
You're going to put a fiver on him?
I'll put a fiver on him.
I think you've given it the big in here, Tom. If
no chance.
Matt gets more points than you this week, I think there needs to be some sort of forfeit involved.
There's no chance Jordan is going to do unreal. This 80 to 1.
If you're that confident, you'll take it on. You'll take it on if you're that confident.
Yeah. Take
the
bet.
I'm down.
I mean, we're back at golf now. It's not like we're in lockdown, so get your forfeits coming in, guys.
Yes,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Look, guys, I think that's been another really, really interesting podcast.
Interesting episode this week. I think we covered some really, really good topics this week.
Yeah, definitely.
Enjoyed it.
No, some bit more technical topics, which has been nice to get into. So yeah, we hope that all of the listeners have enjoyed that. And like we say every week, if you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like. And if you haven't had the chance to subscribe yet, please subscribe below now. You can still find us on social media on Instagram and Twitter. Look for the handle @PutItStraight. And Tom, I'm going to come to you again. What is our email address?
PutItStraightPodcast@gmail.com.
I think he's got it, you know. He has got it. It's in now. He's got it.
He's revised.
Incredible. So any questions you've got, funny stories, or any comments you want to send to us, get those in.
Forfeits as well. Forfeits for Tom when he loses.
Yes, we want forfeits this week. So any ideas?
Get your swing review. Forfeits for Tom. Don't worry about the swing review. We just want forfeits. The best one wins. Get him playing in the skirt. Come on.
Get them in. I love it. Brilliant.
Can't wait for Jordan to win. As soon as he wins as well.
I just can't deal with the smugness.
No, I can't either. But look, that is it for this week. We've really enjoyed it. We hope you have too. And we will see you again next week for episode 8. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. See you in the next one.
Oh, my goodness. In your life, have you seen anything like that? There it is. A win for the Aces.